Hey everyone, it's Callum from Cagefront here. Welcome back to the channel, and if you are new here, welcome to the channel. We are back with another predictions and breakdown video for this card this weekend, which is UFC Fight Night. Kamaru Usman versus Joaquin Buckley, taking place in the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. And I gotta say, out of the fight nights that we've had, this is definitely one of the best through the card from start to finish. We've got a lot of old guard fighters with Kamaru Usman. We've got Cody Garbrandt in there as well. We've got a few other fighters that are of that old guard, like Namajunas too. And then we've got new guard fighters like Mansur, Abdul-Malik. We've got Oumar C, and we've got Cameron Wellmaker as well, taking on Kris Moutinho, who is finally back in the UFC after going 5-0 after an 0-2 stint in the UFC where he fought Sean O'Malley, where Sean O'Malley was using his head as a fucking heavy bag. So without further ado, we're going to be predicting and breaking down all the fights on this card, as well as predicting all of the fight card awards. So let's kick it off with the first fight of Vanessa Demopolous versus Jamie-Lyn Horth. Now, before we get into the full analysis of this, there's two things that we definitely need to point out, and that's on Vanessa Demopolous' side, is that for one, she's on short notice coming into this, and for two, which is even more important, is that she's moving up in weight. Now, she's moving from strawweight to flyweight, and this just is not a good idea for her, to be honest. I mean, she's on the older side regardless anyway, and she's so small for the flyweight division. She honestly should be in fucking atomweight division. She shouldn't even be basically in strawweight, let alone flyweight, and ultimately it's just not the right move, and the combination of those two is why she's a plus 395 underdog here. And honestly, the only way that she's winning this fight is if she really gets dirty in the pocket. She makes it like a phone booth kind of fight, makes it dirty, really just pieces up Jamie-Lyn Horth on that inside, or she gets it to the ground and finds a submission. But it's just so much easier said than done because Jamie-Lyn Horth is so much bigger than her. She's got a 6.5-inch reach advantage, and she's also got an 8-inch leg reach advantage. And that's important because of the styles that they use. Vanessa Demopolous is someone that actually more so likes to fight at range with the body kicks, which she does have nice body kicks, but against someone with 8 inches of leg reach more, that is good at maintaining distance and uses nice body kicks herself, Jamie-Lyn Horth has just got a perfect game ahead of her stylistically when it comes to this fight. And she's also got decent takedown defense as well. And Vanessa Demopolous, getting this to the ground is extremely important for her, but she's not a wrestler. You know, it's going to be much easier said than done for her to get this fight to the ground. And ultimately, I think that Jamie-Lyn Horth just completely outpoints her on the feet. I think Vanessa Demopolous has a chance, benefit of the doubt. I think she can use that high output game that she does have to find some shots within a round to steal the round just based on volume itself. But aside from that, I think we're going to have some clear rounds for Jamie-Lyn Horth, taking this by a 29-28, but will not be surprised in the slightest if it's a 30-27 decision for Jamie-Lyn Horth here. Moving up the card to Phil Rowe versus Ange Loosa. Now, this is another big difference in stature fight with Vanessa Demopolous and Jamie-Lyn Horth. Very similar in this one because we got Phil Rowe, who has a 6.5-inch reach advantage, as well as a 4-inch leg reach advantage here. Now, Phil Rowe, he's a guy that is just tricky to be betting on because he is a good fighter. He's a guy that literally in his last two fights, granted he lost them, but he's fought against good guys. He lost to Jake Matthews and Neil Magny by split decision. And when it comes to Phil Rowe being a good fighter, he's got KO power in his hands. He's long for the division. And if he gets going and he's actually motivated, he's definitely dangerous. But the biggest problem with him in terms of a pick is, and what makes it so tricky, is that he is complacent. He has real issues with complacency. He doesn't capitalize when he should, when he can really honestly get some damage off. He's done it in multiple fights where he's just let it slip, especially in the Jake Matthews fight, and also against Nico Price, where Jake Matthews and Nico Price in the fights, their fights that they had against Phil Rowe, biggest thing I could tell is Phil Rowe is not comfortable on the back foot. And Ange Loosa on the other side, he is a forward pressure machine. He is definitely that guy that wants to grind you up against the cage, use constant pressure, has good cardio. And Phil Rowe, He just has to knock Ange Loosa out in the first round, because if he's not, it's just going to be a long bloody day for him. And Ange Loosa, what I've noticed from him when it comes to his tape is he actually has decent head movement when it comes to the front foot or even on the back foot. He's always moving. He's got good cardio. He's got that pressure style to really frustrate Phil Rowe here. And can Phil Rowe win? Yeah, he could possibly knock Ange Loosa out in the first round. I think that's the only chance he's got. But Ange Loosa is damn durable. I mean, he's fought guys like JDM, and he hasn't been taken out. He fought Brian Battle for a bit. I mean, Brian Battle was doing some pretty nasty things to him, and he still was not out of there. So, I mean, Ange Loosa, he's got a chin there. Never been taken out before in his professional career. And I think that he's going to be able to get on the inside pretty easily, pressuring forward against Phil Rowe, who's pretty shitty on the back foot. And unless Phil Rowe can find that one shot in the first round, I think he's getting completely grinded out here for a 30-27 decision. I think Loosa's just too durable. He'll put on a really fast pace and just grind him out, and it'll get worse and worse as the rounds go by. Now, moving up the card to Ricky Simon versus Cameron Smotherman, which was supposed to be Charles Jourdain against Ricky Simon, which would have been a great fight and was honestly a pretty tough pick to actually go for, because Ricky Simon, he's up there in the bantamweight division, has a bucket load of experience, but Charles Jourdain looked pretty bloody nasty against Victor Henry in his bantamweight UFC debut, being the first person to ever take out Victor Henry and use really nice striking along the outside. So it's pretty unfortunate seeing that he was, honestly, if he beat Ricky Simon, which he had a decent chance of doing, he could have been looking at a top 15 shot from there, but he has suffered an eye injury, unfortunately, and that's where Cameron Smotherman has come in. Now, Cameron Smotherman, he is a good fighter. He's young. He's a young fighter. Good. He beat Jake Hadley, which was extremely impressive. Beat him a couple months ago as like a 5-1 underdog on short notice. Looked incredible with his boxing. Just really good distance management and good combination, stringing those together. But Ricky Simon is too tough a test. Honestly, he's too tough a test for Cameron Smotherman at this point in time. I understand why Smotherman's a plus 350 here, because he is on short notice regardless. But even if he wasn't, he should still be an underdog in this fight, because a big tell with Cameron Smotherman, he lost his last fight. Did great against Hadley, but he lost his last fight to say City. And City, the big thing that took that fight for him was the takedowns. He got like 5 minutes of control time over the 3 rounds, did a very good job with his level changes, and Ricky Simon can just do that even better than City can. And that's where Smotherman, he's coming into this on short notice, doesn't have the greatest takedown defense. I think he's just getting absolutely torn apart on the ground, to be honest, to the point where I think Ricky Simon is going to be able to find the submission. Simon, he's got a pretty nice arm triangle choke. I think he's going to be able to cinch that in around the 2nd or 3rd round. I just don't think Smotherman has any answers for him on the ground, to be honest, and I think Simon can impose his will enough to get that opportunity to find the submission. If not, I honestly think he could get like a 30-26 decision here, just being able to grind out, get really good ground and pound on Cameron Smotherman. Just too much experience on Simon's side for a guy like Cameron who's coming through that just doesn't have the experience himself. He's a good fighter, but this is just not the right move for him. Moving up the card to Cody Durden versus Jose Ochoa. Now, Jose Ochoa, he's very, very exciting. He had a great debut fight against Loney Kavanagh, which granted he came up short in that fight, but he's definitely dangerous. And he's got really nice striking. He's quite long for the division, but so is Durden. They're both pretty much identical when it comes to literally all their physical attributes. But Jose Ochoa, I will say that KO power, that actual threat there is definitely there moving through later rounds, which Cody Durden is definitely going to have to be careful of. And a big difference that we can see here is a 10-year age gap between him and Durden. And it really is going to come down to Durden managing to get on the inside and avoid Ochoa's flurries and combinations to then get him to the ground, or Ochoa on the other side being able to stop Cody Durden's takedowns. If one gets one of those aspects that they need, they're going to win this fight. And as dangerous as Ochoa is, I just can't honestly disregard the experience and well-roundedness of Cody Durden here, because he can compete on the feet. He's got a high output. And Ochoa, I've seen him a little bit on the regional scene and against Loney Kavanagh. He is a bit of a slow starter, and Cody Durden is not. Cody Durden is just pace, pace, pace throughout the whole entire fight, and Durden's not giving up any size here, and he's got that wrestling pedigree, which Ochoa just simply has not dealt with before, and Durden's experience difference here is just too great to ignore. Now, I know Durden's had some pretty tough times against Bruno Silva, Joshua Van as well. And, you know, in recent times, he might be a little bit compromised, which I think inflates that underdog status for him, which is understandable. And Ochoa is a very good fighter. And I think if Ochoa is going to be winning this, it's going to be around that middle part of the fight where I think he's going to take Durden out pretty easily, like just cleanly. But I honestly just can't disregard Durden's ability to out-control him, out-transition him, and get this one done by a decision here to take this fight. Not going to be easy, but I think underdog Durden can get this one done. Moving up the card to Malcolm Wellmaker versus Kris Moutinho, the absolute fucking zombie. Sean O'Malley landing over 220 strikes on this guy. It was about 230 significant strikes. He did not go down. And even people were even thinking, including myself, it was kind of like an early stoppage in a sense. He could have kept going, but granted, I can't really argue with the ref for calling that after a 250,000 fucking significant strikes on his dome. Like, he is super durable guy. Granted, he's 6-4, but when it comes to KOs, but he is a durable guy. It takes a lot to take him out. And granted, if you're counting that Sean O'Malley one, in both of his fights that he had in the UFC against Kennedy as well, he had 2 early stoppages. So it's pretty rough for him. He got cut from the UFC, but he's gone 5-0, 5 finishes on the regional scene, which is great for him. He got a couple submissions in there, got a couple KOs in there, which is great. And look, he is an entertaining fighter. You know, he's decent on the front foot with his volume, but I think this is all I can really say for him, because there's one thing that you can see at the bottom of your screen, a minus 1,667 to Malcolm Wellmaker, which I think by the time this video goes out, it's probably swelled even more to potentially close to like a minus 2,500 or something. And then Kris Moutinho, a plus 850, a $9.50 underdog. That is insane, and I am one to say, if you watched me on this channel before, I'm one to say that, you know, I don't think a human versus a human, there should ever be that much of a split, especially when it's professional versus professional. But Malcolm Wellmaker is a great up-and-coming prospect. He's got fantastic boxing, and stylistically, the dude has just got the absolute key to beating Kris Moutinho here, because he's got very clean counter-striking on the outside and on the back foot overall, and that's what he did to destroy Cameron Simon with absolute ease, and he looked great on Dana White's Contender Series. And Kris Moutinho, don't get me wrong, he's got a lot of momentum coming through from the regional scene, but Malcolm Wellmaker is going to KO him. He's going to take him out. I mean, he's got Kris Moutinho, so much heart. He's got a decent offensive threat on him, but he hasn't fought any opposition anywhere near the caliber of Malcolm Wellmaker on his rise again. He's fought pretty much all cans on the regional scene, especially in comparison to Wellmaker. Wellmaker's got the momentum as well. He's 9-0. He's looking fantastic. And Kris Moutinho, on the front foot, it just hasn't changed. I watch his regional scene fights. He's got the volume there, but he's so open to counter striking. It is ridiculous. He has his hands always away from his chin. He doesn't move his head on the front foot. He's always open for a check hook, and Malcolm Wellmaker's best weapon is a check hook. Going to target that head that's never coming off the center line. He's going to drop Moutinho on his ass, and he is going to get the TKO finish. It's going to be in round 1 or round 2. Off that hook, drop him, ground and pound, finish. Now, moving up the card to Michael Chiesa versus Court McGee. Now, Court McGee, he is a plus 250 here. So he is a fairly big underdog, and he looked great in his last fight against Tim Means. Got a really nice submission there in the first round, and he's always dangerous on the ground. And honestly, he looked very good with his cage pressure. He looked very good with his transitions as well. Looked very strong in those transitions. And when we look at Michael Chiesa, he's not like a Tim Means like his last fight. Michael Chiesa is definitely a tricky customer, has a lot of good experience under his belt, has been a top 15 fighter, and Chiesa's had a bit of a turnaround as well. He beat Tony Ferguson and he beat Max Griffin at UFC 310 as well. And look, it's definitely a tricky one to call. I don't think Chiesa should be this much of a favorite, to be honest, just really based off styles and Court McGee and how he looked in his last fight. But Chiesa is the higher caliber fighter. Granted, he's going to struggle when it comes to competing with this opposing style of Court McGee, but I just think that Michael Chiesa does have the tools to edge it here. He's faster on the feet. He's got nice knees up the middle. Targeting Court McGee's body is probably the best thing you can do, and Chiesa is someone that's actually going to be able to do that. And he showed, honestly, those tools very well against Max Griffin, who is faster than Chiesa overall, to be honest. But if Court McGee is able to get the control on the ground, I will not be surprised if he's able to submit Chiesa, because we all know about Chiesa's submission defense. Not the most fantastic. One of the weirdest fighters, honestly, Chiesa. So good with his submission offense, but absolutely terrible with his submission defense. So it's going to be fascinating there, but I think Chiesa on the feet, he has more tools to offer, and on the ground, he does have the transitional capabilities and the speed to get things done. So I do believe it's going to be a 29-28 decision here. I think McGee can run away with one of the earlier rounds. I think first round being more fresh, I think he can, but I think Chiesa's just going to drag it out to that decision, 29-28, but yeah, this isn't going in my bet slip. Moving up the card to Rodolfo Bellato versus Paul Craig. Now, this got taken off the Burns vs. Morales card because Bellato got herpes, which, who even knows? But moving into the actual fight, we've got Paul Craig, who is heading back up to light heavyweight. And is that a good move? Honestly, with how bad he was struggling with the strike speed and his chin just not being able to handle that speed and that power from guys like KO Baralho, I just think it was a decent move, but like unfortunately moving up, I just don't think his chin is just going to fare any better because, you know, the damage that he's taken over his career. Paul Craig is just a chinny guy now, and he's 37 years old, and granted, I don't think he should be such a heavy underdog in this one because realistically, Rodolfo Bellato is nothing special. I think Bellato honestly gets minced by pretty much every single person in the rankings because he honestly has so many technical flaws. He's honestly got no head movement whatsoever. He can get tipped off balance very easily. I mean, he hasn't shown like the absolute greatest submission game. He's just very stiff, doesn't have great silky transitions on the feet. I mean, he's there to be hit. But Paul Craig, unless he can get this to the ground, which knowing Bellato's fight IQ, Bellato's probably going to take him down, and then Craig's going to triangle him. But honestly, with Bellato, he should be winning this fight. He's got triple the strike output. He's stronger physically, and he's never actually been taken down in the UFC. And I think aside from that poor fight IQ, I think if he can make sure that that's actually in check, I think that he's going to get the KO TKO. And I think he's going to be able to get that in the first or the second round here. But I'm not going to be surprised at all if Craig literally finds a submission straight off the bat from Bellato doing something stupid. But yeah, I think on paper, as Anthony Smith would say, I think Bellato should be taking this one by a KO TKO finish. Now moving up the card to Alonzo Menifield versus Oumar C. Now odds are massive here. We got a plus 540 for Alonzo Menifield, and Oumar C is barely breaking $1 at a minus 833. And those odds are hectic. And I honestly agree with them here because unfortunately for Menifield, aside from Zhang Ming Yang, he's coming up against the most dangerous light heavyweight prospect there is, without a doubt. Like, I'll say firstly, the way that Alonzo Menifield could win is by stuffing all the takedown attempts, going on the front foot, getting on the inside, and just making it a fucking scrap. But Aside from that, I just don't see any hope for him here because Oumar C, he's just an athletic freak who has really nice striking all around. He's got clean, low-volume straight strikes. He's got really nice leg kicks, which Alonzo on the outside and not being able to get inside, Oumar's just going to be able to chop him down at range without having to worry about getting hit. But he's also, as well, Oumar C has got the ability to out-transition his opponents extremely well on the ground. And I just think anywhere it goes, Oumar C's got the advantage here. On the feet, he's got a 7-inch reach advantage, and I think that's just really going to work against Menifield round after round. And granted, I think Menifield's going to be hard to take down, but I think he's just going to get outstruck completely there. I think he's going to get outstruck to the point where I think he's going to be so focused on those strikes coming from C, he's going to get taken down. I think Oumar C is going to be able to transition to the back. I think he's going to be the first person to submit Alonzo Menifield. I think Oumar C is just that great when it comes to that ground game in contrast to that light heavyweight division. He's really promising when it comes to his grappling, and he's got the size. He's got the transitional speed there as well. Granted, he submitted Tuco Tokos, who is an absolute can, but honestly, with the way he's improving in his last fight as well, I do have full faith in him to get this to the ground and submit Alonzo Menifield. But if not, I think it's going to be a clear 30-27 decision if he decides to stay on the feet and strike at range. Now moving up the card to Mansur Abdul-Malik versus Cody Brundage. Holy fuck. Honestly, got to give Cody Brundage some credit here because this fight fucking sucks for him. Mansur is the hottest prospect outside the rankings at middleweight, and Cody fucking Brundage does not stand a damn chance here. I've just got to be honest. Like, there's no way he is winning this fight. This is my lock of the night, 1000%. Mansur, by whatever he wants. Cody will try and take him down because he doesn't want to stand on the feet with Abdul-Malik. He's got a lot of power in his hands, but I think Abdul will literally just overpower the wrestling of Cody Brundage and possibly just take Brundage down, to be honest. But Abdul's going to keep this on the feet, and he's just going to take him out within the first 2 rounds. He's got the KO power. He's much stronger. He's got a 7.5-inch reach advantage. Bigger overall, stronger, got the power. And Brundage, honestly, I just absolutely no damn chance here. Lock of the night. Now moving up the card to Raoni Barcelos versus Cody Garbrandt. No Love is back, and I'm definitely fascinated to see this fight. I think this is going to be a good fight, and it makes a lot of sense right now. They're both kind of at that same level, at that same stage, rank 21 to rank 24, and I don't think it's going to be as easy for Barcelos as it was with the Peyton Talbot fight, which sounds crazy to say after that fight's done now, because Cody Garbrandt does have a stronger grappling arsenal here, so that's something that Barcelos is going to have to look out for, and Barcelos is the favorite here, so that's why I really got to say it. But Barcelos, he does have the 2-inch reach advantage, which definitely does count when it comes to their striking styles, and he's got good offensive wrestling and cardio with a high output. But then on the other side, Cody Garbrandt, we know he's got that high caliber experience. He's faster on the feet. He's a former champion, and he absorbs less strikes as well. And Cody does have pretty nice takedown defense, and the competition level, that caliber is in Cody Garbrandt's favor. And I really just think that this comes down to Raoni Barcelos' takedown success. Because if it just doesn't pull through, I think Cody's got that strike speed and accuracy to take this fight. And honestly, might be a mistake, but I'm going with it. I'm going with Garbrandt. I'm putting my mortgage on it, and Garbrandt's gonna get chinned in the first round. But no, I think Cody Garbrandt, genuinely, I think he's got a chance here. I definitely think he does. I think he can win this 29-28. I think he's good at mixing up his game. He's good with his strikes overall. And when it comes to mixing up his game, that's something that Raoni Barcelos does struggle with, because Barcelos was outworked by Kyler Phillips, and Kyler Phillips can mix up the game. Cody Garbrandt does have takedown offense of his own anyway, And that's where, I mean, when we look at Kyler Phillips, he was able to stifle Barcelos' flow. And I do think that Cody Garbrandt is going to be able to do the same to an extent. He's got that strike speed. He's got the takedowns if he wants it, which I don't think Barcelos is going to expect, more so than Garbrandt is going to expect it from Barcelos, especially after the Talbot fight. And Cody Garbrandt, even against Davison Figueiredo at UFC 300, didn't look bad. I don't think he looked that bad, to be honest. He was actually quite comfortable on the feet, and Figgy, especially in that period, was an absolute killer. And yeah, Cody looked quite comfortable on the feet. He just got out-transitioned and submitted. And I don't think Barcelos is going to be able to do that to Cody unless he hurts him, drops him, and then submits him. But yeah, honestly, I think Garbrandt can take this. But I will say, I believe it's going to be I honestly think it could be a split decision here. I've wrote decision for a 29-28 for Garbrandt across the board, but do not be surprised if it's a split decision here, with the second round possibly being a sway and Barcelos getting the better of the later round, the third round, and Cody really popping off fast in the first round. So going to be an entertaining fight, high volume, high action. Definitely keen to see this one. Now, moving up the card to Andre Petroski versus Edmen Shahbazyan. Now, this is like definitely not a fight that I'm keen on when it comes to the betting front, because we are either going to get Petroski grinding Edmen out round to round or fighting a submission, or we're going to get Edmen taking Petroski out pretty brutally within the first 2 rounds with his KO power. And Edmen really has to be pressuring within the first round to get this finish, to be honest, because I'm just more comfortable with Petroski competing with Edmen on the feet than I am with Edmen competing with Petroski on the ground, especially with Petroski and the way that he was really working himself in his last fight against Rodolfo Vieira. He looked fantastic against Vieira. Kind of slipped my mind for a bit, but against Rodolfo Vieira, he was looking very, very good. Competing with a guy with that jiu-jitsu pedigree, going from that to then Edmen Shahbazyan on the ground, Petroski is going to be having more of a field day, to be honest. And that being said, though, Petroski's got to be very careful when it comes to being on the feet. Shahbazyan, if he's at range and if he starts getting his flow, he's an extremely dangerous fighter, as we know. I mean, he's 12-3 with KOs. Pretty much all of his wins are by KO. And Petroski, he's the more well-rounded guy, very good with his grinder-based style. He's got KOs himself. He's got KO power himself. And he's got the submission base there too. So there's just more avenues for Petroski to actually win this fight. He's just got to make sure he's not getting chinned in the first round and can comfortably get those takedowns, which, from what I've seen and the experience that he's had, I think he honestly can. The grappling level just really eclipses here in comparison to the striking difference. And I think that he can win a decision here, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a late submission if he really starts getting off on Shahbazyan early and starts grinding out and getting those takedowns, because Petroski starts wearing on Shahbazyan to where Shahbazyan's taking deep breaths towards that second round. Petroski can finish him for sure, but at the same time, if he's not getting him down, Shahbazyan can take him out pretty quick. So it's definitely a hit or miss one. That's why I don't like it on the betting front. But as a plus 165 for Petroski, I think it's good money on him here, to be honest. Now, moving up the card to Rose Namajunas versus Miranda Maverick. Now, this fight, in a sense, does make sense, I will say, because Miranda Maverick, she hasn't looked the best against fighters that are literally in the rankings. You know, she's lost to girls like Jasmine Jasudavicius, Macy Barber. She lost to Erin Blanchfield as well. But she is on a 4-fight win streak at the moment, and Rose hasn't been looking too hot in the flyweight division as of recently. She's lost to Erin and she's lost to Manon Fior. So they're both just lost to good opposition. Literally every single one of them is in the top 10. So fair enough that this is made pretty much equal level of just ranking and where the fight should be taking place pretty much. So it does make sense here. Now, Miranda, she's a decent fighter. Granted, she's kind of like the newer guard against the old guard of Rose. She is decent. I mean, she's obviously lost to those opposition, but losing to Erin Blanchfield, I mean, Rose did lose as well, but Miranda is just a worse Erin Blanchfield, to be honest. She doesn't have great striking, to be honest. Like, she's got a decent jab compared to Rose, and the tools that she has with the kicks as well. Rose is just so much better than Maverick on the feet, and Rose looked so much better against Erin Blanchfield than Miranda did, and Rose just lost out because of those late rounds and getting grinded out, and they only have 3 rounds here, so Rose is really going to impose her will. She just needs to make sure that she's not getting taken down and grinded out early, which when Rose is fresh, it's going to be really hard for Miranda Maverick to keep her down, and I think it's completely fair that Rose Namajunas is a 3-1 favorite here in this one. Her strike speed is better, her distance management is better, and she showed up against Manon and Erin very well, especially at the starts of those fights. And I mean, even against Manon, she broke her pinky. So, you know, even that's skewed to an extent. But yeah, I just don't see Miranda Maverick being able to make the correct adjustments, to keep Rose Namajunas down and to really just outpace Rose Namajunas on the feet. I think Rose Namajunas is going to be getting a pretty clear 29-28 decision. I think probably around the 3rd round, Miranda Maverick is going to be able to get a late round on control in that 3rd one. But yeah, aside from that, I think the striking pedigree, the volume, and the striking on the outside, whether it's, well, to be honest, cross-axis, whether it's literally linear, lateral, Rose Namajunas can pretty much strike very well from anywhere. And Maverick doesn't have like the greatest head movement. She's got decent strike defense, not the greatest head movement, but she's just not going to be able to readjust to just beat Rose Namajunas through the 15 minutes. I just don't see it happening, to be honest. Now, moving up to the main event, which is an absolute fucking banger. I'm so keen for this one. We got Marty Fake Newsman versus Joaquin Buckley. I am very, very keen for this. Now, this, I'm not going to lie, was giving me a brain hemorrhage trying to analyze this because, granted, Buckley is over a 3-1 favorite. Usman is $3.10, which is nuts. It's just crazy seeing a guy that is going to be in the Hall of Fame be like that now. And then you also look, the guy's 38 years old, which is just insane. The years have really been slipping by since his prime era, which we all miss the Marty Fake Newsman era. He was a fantastic champion. And does he have a chance in this fight? I mean, being a 3-1 dog, does he have a chance? Of course he does. Of course he has a chance in this fight, and that's why I was giving me a brain hemorrhage, because this fight is extremely close. Like, there's a lot of avenues and a lot of aspects that go well for each fighter. I mean, we've got Kamaru Usman, who's got great cardio, he's got great footwork, he's got amazing strike accuracy as well, especially when it comes to his straight strikes, like his 1-2s, and he's got very good boxing there, and he's got that strength in the wrestling and the strength overall. And then when we look at Buckley's got the power, he's got the strength as well. We saw what he did against Colby Covington, stuff like 7 out of 8 of his takedowns, and Colby just could not get him down. And Buckley, from what we know, he's got pretty good cardio. He's looking pretty damn fresh in that 3rd round against Colby Covington, but we haven't seen him consistently go through 5 rounds. And they both have identical reach, which is going to play a pretty big part in this analysis. And Buckley, I will say, I mean, his striking has definitely improved. He's using really nice head movement. He's got good strike defense. He's using really nice rips to the body when it comes to his boxing. He's got good front leg side kicks as well. And, I mean, just very strong. Both these guys extremely strong, but I'm going to have to go with Buckley. And I'm going to go with Buckley by a decision. Now, I know a lot of people, and especially like you look through Tapology, you look at other guys like in the YouTube space, think like Lucas Tracy, very high on Buckley getting the KO TKO finish here, which I can definitely understand that. I definitely can see there being a KO TKO here for Buckley if he is able to get going straight off the bat, which I think with Kamaru Usman, a big thing with Usman that is a very tough thing to deal with is the straight strikes. The jabs and the twos that Usman possesses are very good, very good at stringing them. He's got a fucking stiff jab on him. We've seen what he's done to Gilbert Burns, and yes, Callum, he's not in his bloody prime anymore, but still, the power's gonna be there. And Kamaru Usman, even in his last fight, I mean, to be honest, even literally every fight he's had, he's looked good. Even in the last 3 losses, he literally looked good in every single one of those fights. Looked great against Khamzat Chimaev. That should have been a draw, to be honest. If you're giving Chimaev a 10-8 in that first, I think he got 10-9s the second and the third. So Usman, I don't think he's really out or anything like that, but I do think that Buckley has seriously got the tools, he's got the confidence, he's got the momentum here. And a big thing with him is that he's got the boxing pedigree. He's really got the boxing pedigree, and if he is getting through with the strike speed and getting past that jab of Usman, which I think in the first 2 rounds or so, I think he's going to struggle a bit. He's going to struggle with that. He's not really going to be able to enforce a takedown of his own to get Usman down like he could really against like Colby Covington, because Usman is just stronger, and Usman also being able to utilize the wrestling and the strength of his own. Because if Colby, even though it was only once, if Colby is able to get Buckley down, then Usman's definitely going to be able to get him down. And the big thing with Colby, when he was shooting in, he was shooting from so far out. He was barely even using a penetration step. Like, his takedown offense was very sloppy against Buckley in that fight. And that's credit to Buckley being able to circle out effectively. So Colby just wasn't in range to actually snatch up a leg properly. And Buckley was just able to slip the leg out and keep going. But Usman, I think he's a guy that is really able to, differentiate that. He's a fantastic wrestler. As we all know, it's his main base, and he can utilize that to an extent if he needs to. Now, Usman, I think that he can take like the first 2 rounds, but that's where I think that Buckley, I think by the time the 3rd round comes around, and also being tricky, I think, is Buckley going to be able to withstand the pace for 5 rounds, which we know Usman can, but can Buckley? That's going to be an interesting thing, but I think from what we've seen, I think Buckley can. I've got more faith that he can go through the 5 rounds pretty well. I mean, both these guys are having more so full camps, so Buckley is going to be very prepared for that. The cardio is going to be through the roof. The guy is pretty fucking dialed, let's be honest. He's looking fantastic at the moment. And he's got the tools with the kicks very well as well. He's got the front leg side kicks. We know he's going to be chewing those cobblestone legs up of Usman pretty well too. He's going to be chopping those down, and that's the thing. If Buckley going through from like the later 2nd round, if he's chopping those legs up, Usman's jab is going to have less effect. And Usman needs that jab in this fight, especially with them having the same reach. Because if these guys are in the pocket together, that's where Usman struggles. The head movement, just the ability to move on his legs, those shaky ass legs, it's not looking good. He just doesn't have the greatest head movement within that. I mean, he doesn't move his body that well. And Buckley, if he's getting in that phone booth, if they're getting in that phone booth exchange, Buckley could definitely knock him out. That's for sure. But Usman, I think he is aware of that. He's got very good fight IQ. He needs to be aware. But I do think that, honestly, I think that Buckley is going to get through and wins round 3, 4, and 5. I think he's going to win the championship rounds. I think he actually might drop Usman in the 5th. I think once he starts really accumulating that damage, utilizing especially the strikes to the body, going downstairs, up top, chopping the legs, just fighting at all angles, trying to shoot his own takedowns, which Usman wouldn't be expecting. I really think that Buckley does have the tools here to overwhelm. But if Buckley is not getting past that jab, I think Usman does have the ability to win this fight. And as a 3-1 dog, it's not the most outrageous pick to make, especially just with that style that he has. Using those straight strikes, using those stiff strikes. He could definitely drop Buckley on his ass in the 1st round if it comes to a jab. When it comes to a jab landing cleanly, you just never know. And it makes it so difficult to pick this because, even with Usman getting Buckley down, Buckley's very explosive off the ground. We know that. But if Usman is able to get Buckley down consistently, that's when is Buckley actually going to be able to go 5 rounds then? That's where it's going to be interesting to see. But with Buckley on the ground, a big thing that's an issue is Usman's actual threat there. Usman isn't the greatest ground and pound artist. Like, he doesn't really utilize it. He prefers control, like position, over submission. He doesn't use submissions either, but yeah, that's the thing. No submissions, doesn't use real effective ground and pound. So when Buckley's down on the ground, I mean, it's just the cardio sucking that Usman's going to really be doing. And I think that's honestly, a great thing for Usman to try and do. Don't get me wrong. I think that's a great thing to do, but I think it's just easier said than done than keeping Buckley down. But I honestly could possibly see this being a split decision for Buckley, but I do think he's going to get a 48-47, more so clean across the board. Or if Buckley, I will say this now, if he's getting past Usman's jab by the end of the first round, I think he's going to knock Usman out. I think he's going to take Usman out in a close quarter exchange, and I think it's going to be pretty brutal at that. But yeah, Usman, if he fights his fight, utilizes the jab well, keeps consistent head movement, fights on the outside, utilizes takedowns when he needs to really just draw out that cardio of Buckley, Usman can take this fight. But I just think there's more avenues for Joaquin Buckley in this fight. Now, moving on to the fight card awards and kicking it off with fight of the night, got to give it to Marty Fake Newsman versus Joaquin Buckley. This fight, honestly, is just so good. I'm so keen for this. Definitely deserves a crowd out of Atlanta, Georgia. And I think this is going to be one of the best fight nights of the year that we've gotten so far. And it's really a big credit to these guys because Usman, he's got the boxing. He's got that consistent threat across 5 rounds. Buckley is a new up-and-comer that's got a lot of momentum behind him. He's got the power. He's improving fight after fight after fight extremely well, and I think it's going to be fairly close, but there's definitely avenues for these guys to get taken out brutally, so I am very keen for that. Now, finish of the night, Mansur Abdul-Malik, 100%. I think Cody Brundage is going out on a stretcher in this one, borderline. Mansur is just so good. He's got so much power. Cody Brundage is not going to be able to take him down. Mansur's too strong. It's just literally going to be a matter of minutes to seconds before Mansur takes his chin off. Now, moving on to performance of the night, I've got Oumar C. I think Oumar C against Alonzo Menifield, he's really going to show that he is one of the hottest prospects and solidify that, moving into that 15th ranked position that he should be getting. And that's where he's got that reach. He's just a physical specimen. Like, he's almost got the same reach as John Jones. And he's young, he's hungry, he's athletic, he's got KO power on the feet, he's got the ground game as well, he's got the grappling. I think he's an extremely exciting fighter that's going to have a fantastic performance. Now, upset of the night, got to give it to No Love. Cody Garbrandt can get this done against a Barcelos that's coming off that Peyton Talbot domination as like an 8-1 dog. I mean, Cody Garbrandt is really back in the mix to break into that top 15. I think he's got the strike speed, he's got the accuracy to get this one done. Now, fighter to watch, I got to give it to Malcolm Wellmaker, honestly. The guy being one of the biggest favorites in UFC history on this card and fighting a pretty popular opposition as well. This is seriously a way to make a great name for himself if he's taking out Kris Moutinho within a couple of minutes, which I think he can definitely do with the counter-striking. You can see what he did to Cameron Simon just on the screen. He is dangerous. Definitely keep an eye out for him. Now, I really hope you enjoyed this predictions and breakdown video, and I really hope you enjoyed the card this weekend. And talking of Joaquin Buckley, if you haven't seen my most successful weight class changes in UFC history video, I'll leave it on the screen now, which, spoiler, he is obviously in that video and is on the thumbnail. Now, please like, comment, subscribe. It goes a long way for the channel, as always, and I will catch you in the next one.